welcome to Praise from the Closet with DJ Straight. Today is Friday, January the 28th. There I go round again, straight in 28. Didn't even know it. The last Friday in the month of January 2022. And here we are again with another exciting show from Praise from the Closet. And our theme today is what's your passion? What's your passion? Is it your career or is it your hobby? Help somebody else decide what it is that they're doing. We're broadcasting live, and let me just say this. If you missed this show, go on our YouTube channel, subscribe, because after a while, they're going to run out of subscriptions. Okay? Subscribe, and if you're on Facebook, go ahead and share. And also, I invite you to go on our website, WGMLB.com, and hit listen live. We have music playing at all times. And today, I have a great guest. I have a young man on that I have known for a while, and I have seen his growth, not physically, but I've seen his growth mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. He is somebody that you would want to get your notepads and get your ink pads so that you can take notes, because I know that he's going to share with us some very exciting just points, some lifestyles, and just some great things. So before I keep talking, let me bring on this interview all the way from another state, from First Generation Life. He is the executive. I want to mess up his title. I had it on my head, but anyway, I will say it later. He will introduce it. Mr. Vincent A. King. How are you today, Mr. King? Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, the Mrs. DJ Strizzy.
All right now, watch out, because you never know what's going to happen with Praise from the Closet. But I wanted to bring you on because, like I said, I see your post. I see different things that you're putting on. You're doing presentations. You take small things and you work with the small, and then you nurture and they become medium size, and then they grow. So let me ask you this. I read a quote somewhere, and it said, "I'm laid back, but far from lazy, confident, but far from cocky, direct, but far from arrogant, charming, but far from soft, comfortable, but far from complacent, a good man, striving to be the best man." Mm-hmm. And where did that quote come from? I took it off of your page. Where did you get that? Where did that quote come from?
I think whenever that quote, I was like, man, when you were saying it, I said, man, that sounds like something that I had posted before, right? I think it just kind of encapsulates who I am as a person. Overall, I've just had so many challenges and things in my life, and so realistically, I've had a lot of great people and influences in my life, but I think early on, I had to make a decision about my life, the type of way that I wanted my legacy for my life to be left, right? And so, I've been able to learn from a lot of people in my life what not to do, but I've also been able to watch others as far as what to do. And so I think that quote just kind of encapsulates how if somebody was to remember me at the end of the day, without them having to go into a big dissertation about it, I think that quote pretty much sums it up.
So tell us about where did you come from? What was your upbringing like? Who influenced you?
Yeah, that's deep, and it really tracks back. So I grew up in Fayetteville, North Carolina, between Harnett County and Cumberland County. I was kind of, grew up in a single parent household with my mother, but good thing about it that we had a great support system with my grandparents, my grandmother, who lived kind of right, what I call like up the path from where my mother and my sister and I was living, and then my grandfather. Because my grandmother, my grandfather, they both had remarried. So my maternal grandmother and grandfather, basically, they were in different areas. One was in Harnett County, one was in Cumberland County. So I spent a lot of time with both of my grandparents, and they grew up, knowing nothing but how to do work. So, and my mother, by being a single mother, being young when she had me, of course, she was trying to do what she needed to do as a single mother to try to make sure that my sister and I had the best life provided. So I think overall, as far as everything that I've been able to do, learn from, it just came from a combination of just my upbringing. My eyes have seen a lot as far as my years growing up, and
Okay.
so I had to, again, I think some of that just kind of influenced my decision on how I wanted my life to look different. And by me growing up in a single parent household, and I do remember saying this early on, that if I had children, or was blessed to have children of my own, that I wanted to make sure that if nothing left, that I was always available or into their life as much as possible, because I know what that imbalance can feel like sometimes, especially for those who don't have the support like what I had growing up, even being in a single parent household.
Wow, that's very good. So listen, while I'm talking to Mr. Vincent King, I'm going to show his website. Now his website says bkdriven.com. Is that what you just told me? Is that what drives you?
Yeah, I mean, I've been known to be. I'm not like I said, I'm not a complacent person. I think anything that I've been faced with in life, I've always been driven to be my best at it. Honestly, I don't know when that actually kicked in.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I think it was, recognized as far as me being the realm of, I think I've been an entrepreneur. I know I've been an entrepreneur all my life, from what I can remember, right? Because even though my grandfather worked, a civilian job at Fort Bragg, he was one of the food truck operators out there for the military, but he also had businesses on the side. He was a farmer. He had a food truck of his own. He was kind of like the patriarch of the family. So he was the one that everybody went to because he had businesses. And my mother, she was very gifted and talented in many ways. And I like to say, my mother knew how to, she knew how to make things happen. She had that
Okay.
hustle spirit, as far as that go getter
Okay.
spirit as well. So um,
Okay.
it was kind of embedded. So I think I've been driven, and that kind of drips in from a combination of a little bit of all of my family.
Oh, okay. So now we're here because I want you to talk about, because you are the executive vice president, not
Right.
just the vice president, but the executive vice president of First Generation Life. What does that mean? What is that?
Right. So we are a sales and marketing organization that specializes in the insurance and financial service industry. And so myself and my partners, Mr. Eric and Mrs. Linda Howard, the co-presidents and CEOs, we worked together in another business venture for about 7 or 8 years. And, we wanted to expand because there were some changes that happened with the other venture. So we decided to bring our forces together to expand, to develop more of an enterprise that can be nationwide, that can service more people, offer more opportunities and flexibility for financial service products, especially specializing in the insurance industry. But my main objective, as far as what I do there, is I'm kind of like consider myself like the battery of the organization. I'm
Yes.
responsible for making sure that a lot of the people that need to be trained, as far as our mentees and our agents, they're trained. They're helping with the coaching and development and the overall growth and the expansion of what we're doing in our organization.
Yes, because as I look at your posts, I see you out speaking and presenting, and it's like you go out and you reach out and you see the potential in people. So go back and let's talk about the finance part first of First Generation Life, and then let's talk about insurance, and then I want to come back.
Yeah. Okay. Anything in particular you want to ask? Or you just want me to kind of elaborate on that
I
part?
want to elaborate because what I'm doing is First Generation Life. That's
Yeah.
a great
Okay.
product.
Right. Right.
You
Right.
can't have a second without a first. So I want you
Right.
to elaborate on the different
Yeah.
aspects, the finance and the insurance part.
Right. So really, the concept behind first generation life is to help people to understand, whether it's from a agent perspective, which is the individuals that I help coach, mentor, and train, or from a client perspective, that we want to help them to become, if they're not already, the first generation to be able to leave a legacy for the next generation. Being able to kind of start breaking some of that adage that there's that generational wealth can't be passed on. Really being able to start educating the community and people, to start getting them thinking more about, the next generation, not just
Mhm.
themselves. And so that's why we're called First Generation Life, that it has to start somewhere. Every person that basically became where, they passed away and they were able to pass on something, it started
Mhm.
somewhere. So if it hasn't been already passed on to you, then we try to get people to say that it can start with you. And even if you have to pass the baton, at least some of those good habits and things can be passed on to somebody else to kind of pick it up, and they'll be much better from where they would have been because of what you've actually started. So that's more or less from the consumer side of things. More or less from the financial side of things, we just, mainly offer a lot of insurance products that basically help people with immediate funding if they need it, being able to kind of put money away in different guaranteed issued funds. So, you can be a little bit more diverse in your portfolio and your structure. And, most people are really undereducated about how insurance products work, especially in the African American community. I always try to tell people that all insurance is not created equal. That's why they call different types of insurance different names, because all insurance is not created equal. And so having a better understanding, first of all, from an educational standpoint of, how insurance works and how it can work best for you. Just like one pair of shoes, you can't go to the shoe store and get a size 10 if somebody wears a size 12. It's not a one shoe fits all type scenario. And we try to help people to understand, what's the best scenario for them and their family as far as what they want to get accomplished for that. So that's kind of the financial insurance side.
Wow, that's excellent. Okay, listen, I've got his information up there, his website, his phone, his email, and I'm going to leave that. I'm going to have it scrolling across at times. But you talked about there are different types of insurances, and one size doesn't fit all. Educate us, or just briefly, on the maybe a couple of the types of insurance, and how do we know, or how would I know what to get or what to select?
Right. Well, first of all, you need to speak with someone who basically understands, the fact that they can't be looking at you as a commission check, right? On the other side of the table. That's the first thing. If somebody is not really thoroughly asking you the questions and really taking a deep dive, I always try to related to if somebody went to the doctor for their annual checkup. There's a reason why the doctor, when you walk into the doctor's office, you haven't seen them in a year, that they give you that big clipboard of all that information that they need you to fill out,
Right.
right? They need you to check off since the last visit, because what they want to know, they want to find out exactly what's going on with you. Has anything changed? Are you feeling something that you weren't feeling last time you were there? Has anything significant changed in your lifestyle? Have you gained weight? Have you lost weight? Whatever, what may have caused it. Have your knees started, your knees start buckling when you get up now, because that gives them a starting point of trying to diagnose if something is wrong. And so that's kind of what we do when we sit down and we try to go through people's analysis as far as what type of insurance they actually need. Because if I don't know what you got going on currently, what you
Mhm.
have, and what the purpose of why you need insurance, why you think that you need insurance, then I'm, kind of doing a mispractice. I'm not utilizing my license to the best of my ability. And so I believe that's why you have to be educated properly. So it starts with the other person on the phone that's talking to you. If it's not a conversation about you, and if it's more a conversation about them pushing product and giving you prices, that's not going to be a thorough way that you want to consider yourself having the best type of insurance policy.
Oh, so let me ask you this. When it comes to insurance, and I'm asking the question, and he's giving me he's giving wise counsel, but it's up to you to take it or not to take it. So when I consider insurance, should I consider it based on an age, or should I consider it based on a health if I
Uh,
don't have it by now?
you should be considering it based on the need, you
Based
know,
on the
yeah, based on the purpose, the need, because that determines what type of insurance you're going to be able to qualify for or best suited. So there's so many different types of policies out there. Like when people talk to me, they can just tell me I need some insurance, but I mean, I have different types of insurance that I can offer. So that's not helping me to help you. So now that you tell me that you need some insurance, now I have to find out what that need is. What is the purpose? What do you want to get accomplished? Where are we going with this? At the end of the day, what do you want this to do for you? What's this love letter? Who do you want to leave this love letter to? Because most of the time that's what I like to call insurance. It's a love letter. It's a gift. It's a letter of love that you're leaving to somebody, leaving behind somebody. So what's the purpose? Why is this motivating you to want to do this now? Like, what has something occurred in your life that's now sparking this? Did you just get a bad report from a doctor and now you're afraid? Like, what's really going on and what's motivating you to be able to have this conversation? Because whatever's motivating you to have this conversation should be motivating you to keep it.
Well, you know what, and that's a great point that you just brought up, to keep it, because I was going to ask you. I know that first generation life is not going to knock on my door or say, hey, drop me $50 a month, and then I won't hear from you again for another 20 years. But I know that you will follow up. So give me maybe a couple of type of examples of insurance that are offered. It could be, give me one type maybe that's common, and then another type that people may not know about, because when that need arises, I'm frantic. All I know is something's going on, and I'm frantic. What do I do?
Well, the first misconception I like to break is the fact that there are policies that anybody, depending on health, could qualify for. But you have to understand, if you have health issues, that the ratings of them may be more, or they may not have what we like to consider first day or immediate coverage. So those are what we call more like guaranteed issue policies, meaning that they're not really going to factor any of your health conditions, your previous circumstances as far as what's going on. There's no medical checks, any of those things. It's just, you just got to pretty much, outlive the term of the contestability period, which is typically 24 months. So 2 years, 24 months. On that 25th month, or that 25th month, you're actually, first day of the 25th month, you're qualified for that plan to kick in, God forbid, if something was to happen. So those are guarantee issues. Then we have term insurance, where most people commonly like term because term is inexpensive. But if you don't understand term for the long term, you're going to be highly disappointed, because term is the root word of temporary, right? So term is not intended for it to be permanent. That's why it's not. That's why it's so inexpensive, because it's like you're renting an insurance policy for a period of time, right? So there's no cash value accumulation. There's no recourse that you get back at the end of that term, unless they have something called a return of premium policy, which they have those. But I really like to go a different route. Instead of getting a return of premium policy, I typically maybe look at, for those individuals who are looking for something similar, I can give them the same type of concept with a universal life policy, where you have more control, you have more flexibility of how you can put money in, take money out. And from an investment standpoint, universal life policies are probably one of the most lucrative policies that you can have, especially if you have young children. Matter of fact, me personally, if you have small children, young children, I recommend looking at a universal life policy than just putting it into like a 501(c) or 529 plan or something along those lines, because nowadays, everybody's educational future may not line up to be what we want to be, because so many kids now are going to school. They're doing trade school. They're doing the early graduation, and they're basically getting all these different credentials different ways. So college as we know it is changing. The dynamics of college now is changing. And so even if you can still save and prepare, but doing it in a way where you may not be locked into a set way, may just be another alternative. So there's some policies that can be done that way. And then naturally we have what we call whole life policies or permanent policies. And one of the ones that's, kind of like near the dead of my heart are the final expense policies, because those provide families with the immediate cash payout within 24 to 48 hours. So they can have funding necessary to put the loved one away in decency and order without touching any of the other traditional policies. So that's kind of like a rundown of some of the common ones that are out there right now.
Wow, this is great. Let me remind you all, you're listening to DJ Straight with Praise from the Closet with our guest, Executive Vice President of First Generation Life, Mr. Vincent A. King. And he has given us so much good information already, talking about the different types of policies, the universal life, what are you getting it for, they're guaranteed issues to term life. So if what kind of little nugget would you give somebody that says, either I'm going to make an investment in this insurance, or I'm going out and buy a car?
Well, I mean, it's nothing wrong with going out and buying a car, but I will tell anybody that realistically it's about your priorities too, right? So
Yeah.
the way that I look at it is the fact that um, I ask people typically what's more valuable, is the golden egg, or is it the goose? Is it geese or goose? It's the
That's
goose,
funny.
right? Yeah.
Yes.
So which one is more valuable? So so I can have a golden egg over here, or I can have the goose. Well, if you look at it, the goose is the one that laid the golden egg, so you have to protect the goose. So because if anything that you own, now, if you don't have it protected, then you leave your family at jeopardy of losing it. And so one thing I do know about buying a car before you have your priorities and stuff in order in regards to your financial balance and well-being. I tell people that even before you start investing in a 401k plan, you need to have the right type of insurance policy. Most people don't know that if you're young, especially if you're African American, you getting $1 million worth of term insurance on you early is so powerful, because at least for the next 30 years, that if something happens to you, your family can get $1 million tax-free benefit,
Hmm.
right? And
Yes.
so
Yes.
just the power of knowing how to really put that type of protection around you, because you get in that car and get a car accident with no insurance. Now everybody's trying to start up a GoFundMe account to be able to be able to put you away. And GoFundMe is not insurance, right?
That's right.
GoFundMe is a business that makes money off of people contributing money, and they get a percentage of that. So if somebody raises $10,000, that family may only get 8,000 of that money. So because
Absolutely.
GoFundMe has to get paid, right? So
That's right.
it's not a substitute. So I would say definitely nothing wrong with getting a car, but just make sure your priorities are ordered, that you got a baseline of insurance just in case something happens.
That's right. I agree with you. There's nothing wrong with that, but you're right. Get your priorities in order. So listen, I have his information scrolling across the screen, and I'm gonna leave it there because he's giving out some great wisdom. And listen, Mr. King, he can talk to anybody in all 50 states. That's how experienced he is. Tell your relatives, tell your friends, tune in, get his information from the bottom of the screen, because we do not have the knowledge or the education that we need. And when something happens, it's too late to say, oh, I wish I would have, I wish I would have. So let me ask you this, and you may not know this question right off, and I'll tell you what I asked. Do people outlive a life of their insurance? So if I had a whole life policy, if I reached 100, is that insurance still good?
Well, 100 is what we call the endowment period. So at that time, basically the value of the policy is paid out to that person at age 100. So if they live to be 101, 102, in the policy, most policies, 99% of the policies are going to have an endowment period to age 100. And all that means is that whatever that value of that policy is, that all of that money will be cashed out to the insured at that time. So
Wow.
yeah.
It's it's interesting you said that, because I am going to, weather permits, to a funeral tomorrow of a lady that was 104, and her son was an insurance salesman from years ago, and that's why I asked. So, at what age should we start thinking about these investments? And because I know part of first generation life is talking about investments. So, what in finances? About what age should parents consider that for their children?
The day that they're born.
Okay, I'm goo
Yeah,
ga gagging, goo ga gaga. But
yeah.
you know,
The day that, no, seriously, it's, and if you haven't, then yesterday is already too late. And I have to say that because tomorrow is not promised. So that's why, that if you don't have these things in order every day that you're moving, breathing, there's Russian roulette. Somebody laid down last night that had plans to get up today and they didn't, right?
that's right.
and
That's
and
right.
so we can't think that, if the pandemic has not taught us that a completely healthy person with no health conditions can immediately change their insurability. And that's another thing too, is that there's, with this pandemic and this thing that's going on, it's to put a lot of people in a place where normally would have been insurable, so now they're not insurable because now they have health conditions that was related to something that was out of their control. So one trip to a doctor or one trip to anything. So that's really why I tell people why term insurance is so valuable, because you can get a large term policy, and what you're doing is you're locking in your insurability. And what I mean by that, never get a policy that you can't convert that policy over into maybe something permanent. So there's some companies out there that will offer you a policy. So you need to ask them, is there a conversion? Is there, if I wanted to take this million down to keep 900,000 in term, but have 100,000 to convert to permanent whole life, do I have that option to be able to do that? And if the answer is yes, then you can basically have been diagnosed with a cancer or diabetes or anything that changed your health, but you can
Okay.
still qualify for it because your insurability is intact because you had $1 million term policy, meaning you're not getting anything over a million. You're just utilizing that the leveraging that million to be able to convert into something that's permanent. So
Okay.
that's why
And
that's why it's always, you can't sleep on it. You gotta get this thing active now, and insurability is one of the main reasons why.
okay. And if I don't do that, if I miss, say, oh, I got a 30-year term and it's $500,000, and I'll wait to year number 29 in 10 months, can I still go ahead and convert that over to
Now,
whole life?
most companies have a time frame of where you can convert it. So it may be 10 years into it, 15 years into it. But if you have a good agent, they'll be in contact with you, or you'll be getting letters from the company. So that's another thing I say. Anytime you get anything from your insurance company, folks, open up the mail, right? You won't believe
Mhm.
how many people that I've sat with that have policies, and whenever I've just sat with them just to do a free consultation, I'll say, "Hey, could you bring your policies out?" And when I do, the policies are still in the original packaging, meaning they haven't even been opened.
Wow. It's almost like the lady who won the lottery last week, and I'm certainly not saying I'm going to play, but it was in her spam mail, and she just not gone to spam. That was $3 million that she would have been without. So listen, I know you work hard. When you are not in sales, when you're not doing your insurance, and when you're not at the VK driven, although I know you're always on guard, always on point, what do you do to relax, to lay your head down, to have some fun? Because when you work hard, some people say I work hard and I play hard, but what do you do when you to some downtime? What are your hobbies and your passions?
Yeah, well, I'm kind of a social butterfly, kind of the opposite of my wife. My wife is more, she can be to the degree where she doesn't have to be social, but I'm a social person. So before this pandemic, I would always like to kind of hang out and be in the midst of other people, just doing whatever. I mean, if it was just kind of going out and just hanging out watching a game at
Hmm.
at a restaurant or something, or the
Hmm.
opportunity to travel and just kind of just be on the go a little bit, So I'm not a person that I sit still, and I don't think that I necessarily just have one hobby, but I like watching sports on television. I like having the opportunity to run around with the kids when time permit, even though that's sometimes work within itself too. That's not really downtime, but it's still fun to be able to kind of do that. And
Yeah, yeah.
just spending time just with family is, if we have those opportunities. I come from where we used to kind of get together as a family a lot and just kind of do a lot of cookouts in the summer back in the country and things of that nature. But I think more so now, what I value most as far as I like to check things off the list, and I want to get more into visiting places and doing things that I've said that I always wanted to do, and stop saying it and just make it a priority to do it. Because I think the older you get, the more you can still be selfless, but sometimes you have to be selfish. And I think what I mean by that is that we can be selfless to help so many other people, but sometimes we have to be selfish to make sure that we're helping ourselves to get what we
Oh,
need.
absolutely.
So I think that's where I'm kind of leaning to now, is that if I feel that I just need a break, sometimes I need to just take it. Like my wife granted me the opportunity. I just told her last year during the pandemic, I said, for my birthday, I just want to go to the mountains, and I just want to just get a cabin, and I just need 3 days. I
Chase
just
some
need 3 days.
bears.
Right, right. So we figured it out, and it worked out. And so I was able to go to Asheville, North Carolina. I was able
Yeah,
to ride the Blue Ridge Parkway for about 3 hours, just listening to the radio, getting out, taking pictures, stopping at little country places, eating lunch. I have never done that before. And so
that's
I
great.
think now I'm just interested in finding new hobbies of things that I can do like that, just to kind of have that little downtime so I can come back refreshed and get back on the grind first with these family and kids, and then make sure this business is keep moving. So
Wow. So was that the Asheville that's near Cherokee, North Carolina?
it's not
On
far.
the
Yeah,
western part.
yeah,
Because I've
western
been
part.
out there
Yeah. Uh-huh.
before, and I
Yep,
was in
yep,
the store, and the bears were literally coming around on
yeah,
the
yeah,
up
yeah.
by the window. Yeah, one of my really good friends was lived in there. We used to sit at her house and look up at the valley. So let me ask you this: when it comes to first generation life, how is that team structured? How many employees do you all have? I know the reach is very large, and you're successful, but you're so down to earth. How is that structured?
Yeah, since we relaunched in 2 years ago, we're at about 90 plus agents, in a few different
Wow,
states. Um,
great.
so we're projected to be at over 300 agents in the next 24 months. That's what we're go want to go to, about 300, if not more. I mean, definitely I could see 300, but it could be more, because now we're getting a lot of people set up to where they can actually do things more from home virtually. So that's picking up for us, because now with the ability to be able to do more home virtually, as far as more of our agents being able to be trained, make money from home, being able to help change people's lives from home, it's creating a huge opportunity and wave where I can hire people in other states, and I don't have to necessarily be in that particular state to train
Right.
them, because everything now can be done, virtually. So that's going to help us expand our reach to where we're going to be able to kind of 10 times this thing, as far as where we want to be in the next 3 to 5 years.
Wow. So listen, you all, if you have any questions or comments for VA King, VK Driven, go ahead and shoot them in the chat, in the comments. If you're on YouTube, you can go ahead and shoot those, or you're on Facebook. So if you had to write a letter to your 10-year-old self about where you are now, what would that be? It doesn't have to be a long letter based on what you said coming up. What would that look like?
Um, I mean, I think that basically, if I had to do that, you said my 10-year-old self or just 10 years
Mhm.
ago?
No, your 10-year-old self, the little boy who
Wow.
said, okay.
um, I would say that realistically, that you know, not putting that I'm glad that I learned early enough how important God was in my life and my handling my affairs. I'm glad that I had a grandfather and a grandmother
Mhm.
and things who kept me in church when I didn't feel like being in church, because none of this is made possible, if none of this of what I've been able to accomplish and where I'm going is made
Yeah,
possible, if I didn't have my spirituality in check. Because I believe that anything that I'm doing and that I do, I'm led to do it. I
yeah,
don't. I think it's, even though I'm in the field, I'm in ministry. More or less in the church side of things, but also in the secular side of things,
that's
I still consider it a ministry, because I'm dealing with people, and so you can't separate the two, but you can do it in a way where people still know that it's something different about how you do it,
yeah,
that they can recognize that. So I think I'll just tell my 10-year-old self that, you know don't ever dismiss God, and I'm glad that I didn't, out of any part of your life, even
yeah,
when it don't seem like, even when you don't, he's always going to be there to show up, because he has definitely been a God and light for me.
yeah,
Me seeking to have that type of opportunity to know him and get to further myself led me to where I was able to meet my wife, to where I was able to have some of the relationships with people that I have been able to develop, some of those
yes,
opportunities that's been able to be presented in my life, to be able to be in ministry. I have beautiful children, two beautiful children that came about because I was following, the lead of knowing that there was something more for my life and developing an extended family. So it's the countless things that can happen when you really look back and see how much God has played a part in it is just remarkable. So I think that's what I would mainly say.
wow, that's excellent. So, in starting out, and I really thank you for coming on today, because, as I said, you've given some great, not just nuggets, some gold pieces, especially when you did that example about the goose and the golden egg. But I read a statement in the beginning, and I'm gonna read that same statement, and I understand that twist on that statement. I'm laid back, but far from lazy, confident, but far from cocky. direct but far from arrogant, charming but far from soft, comfortable but far from complacent, a good man striving to be a best man. And when I look at that, now I can see that whole picture about that VK driven, especially just in what you talked about with your life, your professional life, your spiritual life, and first generation life. Because not only are you, starting here, but then you're, like you said, you're reaching out, you're training people. Because at the end of the day, if you don't make preparations now for anything that could come up, GoFundMe was not made for funerals and birthday parties and I want a new dress, because as you said, there's a percentage. And you talked about some of the, when you get an insurance, looking for an insurance person, I don't know if they still call a salesman, like what to look for. So I wanted to just give you a space if you have any announcements of something coming up or some parting words. And I want to keep saying I've kept this information up. VKDriven.com is a website. You can reach him at 919 3801 6608. You can text, you can call. VKDriven at Gmail. Just remember, he said he has a family, so don't be calling no crazy hours at night, because you'll probably just, get the ringtone or something like that. But VK Driven, just give us some parting words about the importance of first generation life, the finance, and the insurance.
Well, any parting words I have is the fact that, if you have not, just don't take the fact that you have something and say that I'm good, right? Everybody has had significant life changes in their life. Anything that changes in your life, getting a year older, having a new child, getting ready to retire, all of that. If you're planning to retire, or if you've already retired, if there's somebody that has passed away in your life, all of that are significant life changes. Getting married, all of those things. So you just because you have something, you have to make sure that you're following up on it. You have to treat this like an annual checkup. You got to stay on top of, just making sure if you're good. So even if you're doing nothing but just getting the thumbs up, you don't always have to purchase, but you always have to make sure that you're prepared. You have to make sure that nothing has changed. You have to make sure that there's progress that's still being made. Because at the end of the day, you want to make sure that too, that the people that's going to be responsible for your affairs, that they understand what you have, they understand what your intent is. And so then there goes a part where you just go from having coverage to where you need to make sure that you have the right type of structure in place. Like, how do you want this to be structured? The older and you get, and as you start knowing, and as such as us all, we recognize we have, we don't, the time that we have behind us now, we're starting to look ahead and realize, man, this time is kind of moving fast, right? And
Yeah,
so you don't want to be caught off guard, or you don't always want to wait to do anything out of desperation. Sometimes you just want to just operate in preparation mode, right? You got to prepare.
yes,
And so I think that's where most people don't, you don't be impulsive, but the better prepared you are, the better you sleep at night, right? I always try to tell people this, that if you're, if somebody always asks me, is it a good time? Why do I think I need to talk to you? And I'll say, well, just answer this question. If you lay down tonight, are you 100% certain that if you do not wake up in the morning, that all of your affairs are in order the way that the person who's responsible for you can do it in a responsible manner?
wow, that's
And
excellent. Go
so
ahead,
the
I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, and I was gonna say it, but the operative word in that is 100% sure. And I don't think any of us will ever lay down and say that we're 100% sure, right? So that means that there's always room for somebody to just kind of check. There's always room to kind of see if there's another gap that may need to be filled. One of the things I do find that happens to people, and just give you an example why that's important, because beneficiaries a lot of times are on policies, and especially people who have policies for a long time. Well, back in the day, husband and wives would put each other on each other's policies, the beneficiaries, and they wouldn't add the children. But then the husband may pass away first, and then and then the wife passes away. But then if they never changed the beneficiary on the policy, and they had each other on there for their beneficiaries, now that policy for either the mom or the dad or whoever passed away last has to go to the estate, because there was no beneficiaries ever updated on the policy. So
That's
so you got to just look at this stuff and just make sure that these things are being updated. And I would say, don't think that just because you have a child, that they're always got to be the ones that you're leaving on the main policy that you want to utilize to take care of your immediate needs. Because trust and believe that you, when it comes to your final expenses, that money that the funeral home is going to need to take care of you immediately. Now, if you just want to have a separate policy to lead in the beneficiary so they can blow and do whatever they want to with it, that's fine. But the one that's needed to make sure that you get put away with decency and order, it may not be that person, that child or that person that you think it is. It needs to be the one who's going to be the most responsible.
Responsible. They're absolutely. And you mentioned some great points, because having worked in human resources for years, I've seen where the boyfriend got married and forgot to take the girlfriend's name off. Ooh, and what a mess. Or the man got married and forgot to take the wife's the mother's name off. That's another mess. But you segued into, because I have a book and it's titled "It's Not About Me, It's About Them." And that book basically, hey, it has great information. It's not one of those sad, soggy books. I'm gonna put my own plug in. Go on my website, handleyourbusiness.com. And a lot of the things that Vincent King was talking about, you'll find it in that book. And then we go even further with our 4Ks questionnaire and lock, stock, and bond. You're going to need this information. But I'm so glad that you came on today. And I just want to say, listen, I put his information up and it's still scrolling. But if you forget to get it, go on our website, wgmlb.com, and connect with us, and I will make sure that he gets it. You can email us at gospelmusicloversbuffet@gmail.com. And even if you have some follow-up questions for Vincent King, be sure to reach out to him or reach out to gospelmusicloversbuffet@gmail.com. But once again, go on our website. You can go on our website, handleyourbusiness.cc. handleyourbusiness.cc. And listen, I want to have a couple of announcements on this Sunday at 6 o'clock. Everybody say 6 o'clock. Oh, and the congregation said 6 o'clock. We are having a new show called My Siblings and Me. It is going to be just fun. Just fun. So if you have some siblings, go, or you don't, go find some and sit and watch this. And I also want to announce on our radio station, wgmlb.com, every day at 8:30 a.m., 1 o'clock p.m., 7 o'clock p.m., and 10:30 p.m. We're doing a birthday song. So if you know anybody that has a birthday or want to pretend that they have a birthday, go on there and they will get a personal birthday song coming on they can hear. And again, Mr. Vincent King, the Executive Vice President of First Generation Life, thank you so much for all of the valuable information that you have shared with us. And I hope that people take advantage. And that's what Gospel Music Lovers Radio station is about. Wonderful.
Yeah.
Go and listen to some of our music.
No, I was gonna say, and thank you.
What did you say?
No, I was gonna say thank you for being
Yeah.
obedient to this kind of ministry and this type of work, and I'm just honored that you asked little old me to be on your platform. So I appreciate you for the invitation, and I'm always here to serve if you need anything.
Yes, thank you so much. And until Sunday, this is DJ Straight signing out with our guest, Mr. Vincent A. King, VK Driven, from all the way from another state. They came on to share with us. So we invite you all to continue. Hey, go on our YouTube channel, DJ Straight, and you will see all of the broadcasts that we've had. And don't forget to subscribe. Thank you all. Wait a minute. Let's see. I may have a comment coming in. Let me check and make sure, because, oh, hold on. Let me show this. There's one comment coming in. It said, you see that? Wow. Good information.
Thank you.
That's great. And take advantage of everything that you can. So until Sunday, this is DJ Straight with our guest, Vincent King, Executive Vice President of First Generation Life, signing with DJ Straight, signing off. Thank you all for tuning in.